First contact and misjudgment. Admiral Vexthor stood motionless before the vast observation window of the stellar dominance, his flagship's bridge awash in the soft blue glow of Earth's atmosphere. His four eyes narrowed as he studied the planet below, mandibles clicking in quiet contemplation. The Estrene Empire had conquered countless worlds across 3 galaxies, yet something about this insignificant blue planet made his scales bristle with unease. My admiral, his second-in-command, Commander Zara, approached with a data crystal. The preliminary scans are complete. The humans appear to be operating on primitive fusion technology. Their most advanced weapon systems rely on chemical propulsion and crude nuclear fission. She paused, mandibles twitching in amusement. They haven't even established a permanent presence beyond their moon. Vexthor's upper eyes focused on the data while his lower pair remained fixed on Earth. The Estrene Empire's intelligence network was legendary in its accuracy, having mapped the technological progress of thousands of species. These humans were centuries behind the galactic standard, their cities still burning fossil fuels, their vehicles bound to the ground by primitive wheels. Curious, he muttered, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the starlight. They achieved spaceflight barely 2 centuries ago, yet they've made no significant advancement since then. Their population continues to grow, but their technology stagnates. The bridge crew worked silently around him, their crystalline bodies harmonizing with the advanced biotechnology of the ship. The stellar dominance was a marvel of Estrene engineering, a living vessel grown from crystal and consciousness, capable of destroying entire continents with a thought. Perhaps they reached their intellectual plateau, Zara suggested, her crystalline form shifting colors slightly, a sign of anticipated victory. Many species do. They achieve basic spaceflight, then simply stop. But something didn't add up in Vexthor's mind. The historical data showed sporadic bursts of innovation from Earth, followed by long periods of apparent technological dormancy. It wasn't the normal pattern of species development he'd studied throughout his military career. "Deploy the scout drones," he ordered, his voice resonating through the crystalline chamber. "I want detailed scans of their military installations, power grids, and communication networks." Within moments, thousands of microscopic crystalline drones descended through Earth's atmosphere, their presence undetectable to human scanning technology. They scattered across the planet's surface, gathering data and transmitting it back to the fleet. Hours passed as Vexthor studied the incoming information. The humans' military bases seemed remarkably basic: airfields with primitive jet aircraft, ports housing vessels powered by nuclear fission, ground forces still relying on ballistic weapons. Their cities were inefficient, their power distribution wasteful, their communication systems vulnerable. "Prepare the invasion fleet," he finally commanded, though that persistent unease remained. Standard conquest protocol. Target their military installations first, then government centers. Minimal civilian casualties. The Empire needs workers, not martyrs. Zara's crystalline form brightened with anticipation. "Should we send the customary surrender demand?" "No," Vexthor decided, all 4 eyes now fixed on the planet. "Their communication systems are too primitive to properly receive our demands. They wouldn't understand the honor we'd be offering them." He paused, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "Besides, this conquest should take less than one of their planetary rotations. We'll accept their surrender after they witness our power." The invasion fleet began to move into position. 50,000 crystal ships, each a living weapon of unsurpassed power. They arranged themselves in the traditional Estrene combat formation, a crystalline lattice that would channel their combined energy into an overwhelming first strike. As final preparations were made, Vexthor received one last data packet from the scout drones. For a moment, he thought there must be an error in the transmission. The drones had detected faint energy signatures unlike anything in the Estrene database, not powerful enough to be weapons, but too regular to be natural phenomena. Probably interference from their primitive communications, he dismissed the anomaly. After all, The Estrene Empire's technology was infallible. If there was any significant threat on that planet, they would have detected it. All ships in position, Admiral, Zara reported. Awaiting your command. Vexthor's crystalline form pulsed with the traditional colors of battle. Begin the invasion. Show these humans the true meaning of advanced civilization. As the first wave of ships entered Earth's atmosphere, Vexthor allowed himself to feel a moment of pity for the humans. They would never know how hopelessly outmatched they had been. Their primitive weapons would be useless against Estrene crystal technology. Their cities would fall before they could even comprehend what was happening. Or so he thought. The first indication that something was wrong came when 3 of his ships suddenly disappeared from the combat network. Not destroyed, simply gone, as if they'd never existed. Vexthor's upper eyes widened in surprise while his lower pair rapidly scanned the tactical displays. Status report, he demanded. But before Zara could respond, a new energy signature bloomed on the surface of the planet below, something that shouldn't have been possible with human technology, something that made every crystal in his body resonate with alarm. The real battle for Earth was about to begin, and Admiral Vexthor was starting to realize he might have made a terrible mistake. The hidden strength. The bridge of the stellar dominance erupted in chaos as more ships vanished from the combat network. Admiral Vexthor's crystalline form pulsed with agitation as he watched the impossible unfold before his 4 eyes. Entire squadrons of the most advanced warships in 3 galaxies were simply disappearing. Ground installations activating across all continents, Zora reported, her voice carrying an unfamiliar tremor. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. They're rising from everywhere. What emerged from Earth's surface defied everything the Estrene Empire knew about human technological capabilities. Massive structures pushed through the ground like ancient behemoths awakening from slumber. Mountains split open to reveal launch bays. Oceans parted as underwater bases surfaced. The primitive military installations they'd observed were dissolving like mirages, revealing something far more formidable beneath. Impossible, Vexthor whispered, all 4 eyes fixed on the tactical display. Their technology, it was primitive. We saw their cities, their vehicles, their weapons. A human voice crackled through their communication systems, another impossibility, as humans shouldn't have been able to penetrate Estrene encryption. This is General Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You're seeing what we wanted you to see, Admiral. Humanity learned long ago that appearing weak is sometimes the greatest strength. Vexthor's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed this revelation. The dormant periods in human technological development. They hadn't been plateaus. They had been deliberate. The humans had been hiding their true capabilities, presenting a facade of technological stagnation, while building something far more sophisticated beneath the surface. The first direct hit on the stellar dominance shook the ship violently. Vexthor watched in disbelief as the human weapon, a beam of coherent dark energy, passed through their crystal shields as if they didn't exist. Impossible. The crystalline matrix is impenetrable. Analyzing their weapon systems, Zora reported, her form shifting through colors of distress. They're using quantum-entangled particles too. Admiral, they're using our own shield harmonics against us. Somehow they studied our technology before we even arrived. Those strange energy signatures the scout drones had detected, they hadn't been communication interference. They had been scanning beams, analyzing Estrene technology, probing for weaknesses. The humans hadn't just been hiding. They had been preparing. Launch the crystal swarms, Vexthor commanded. The Estrene Empire's ultimate weapon, billions of microscopic crystal drones that could disassemble matter at the atomic level, deployed from the remaining ships. They should have been able to reduce Earth's defenses to their component atoms within minutes. Instead, the swarms scattered, their control signals scrambled by something emanating from Earth's surface. On the tactical display, Vexthor watched in horror as his crystal swarms were captured, redirected, and reprogrammed. The humans weren't just defending against Estrene technology. They were assimilating it. Admiral, Zara's voice was barely a whisper now. Their counterattack. It's not random. They're not just firing blindly. Each shot is precisely calculated to disrupt our crystal lattice formation. They understand our combat doctrine. General Chen's voice came through again, clearer this time. We've been watching the stars for centuries, Admiral, studying every ship that passed near our solar system, learning, adapting, preparing. Did you really think we wouldn't notice the crystalline debris from your previous conquests? The tactical display became a symphony of destruction as human weapons continued to tear through the Estrene fleet. Their attacks weren't just effective. They were elegant, displaying an understanding of crystal technology that rivaled the Estrene's own knowledge. But your cities, Vexthor protested, even as he ordered emergency evasive maneuvers. Your primitive infrastructure. Camouflage. Admiral, a lesson humanity learned from our own history. The strongest fortresses don't always look like fortresses. Sometimes they look like something not worth conquering. The human strategy became clear with devastating clarity. Those inefficient power grids were actually quantum energy networks, hidden in plain sight. The vulnerable communication systems masked a vast quantum entanglement network. Every primitive aspect of human civilization had been carefully crafted to conceal something far more advanced. All ships, full retreat. Vexthor ordered, but it was too late. The humans had positioned their forces perfectly, cutting off every escape route. Earth's orbital space had become a killing field, with human weapons picking off Estrene ships with surgical precision. As the stellar dominance shuddered under another direct hit, Vexthor realized that the Estrene Empire had made more than just a tactical error. They had fundamentally misunderstood the nature of advancement itself. While the Empire had focused on perfecting their crystal technology, humanity had developed in secret, exploring countless different paths of innovation. The price of that mistake was becoming clearer with each passing moment, written in the crystalline wreckage of what had been the most powerful invasion fleet in known space. And this was only the beginning of humanity's revelations. Innovation under fire. The stellar dominance's bridge, once a paragon of crystalline perfection, now bore the scars of battle. Emergency fields flickered where hull breaches had been hastily sealed, and the living crystal walls pulsed with distress patterns Admiral Vexthor had never seen in his centuries of service. They're not just destroying our ships, Zara reported, her crystalline form fluctuating between analysis patterns. They're learning from each destroyed vessel. Every ship we lose makes them stronger. Through the damaged observation window, Vexthor watched in horrified fascination as human vessels approached the wreckage of fallen Estrene ships. Instead of finishing off the crystalline debris, they were collecting it, their ships extending fields of strange energy that carefully preserved each fragment. Admiral, one of his surviving tactical officers called out, detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's surface. They're replicating our crystal technology, but they're changing it somehow. The tactical display showed something that should have been impossible. Human scientists, working in real time during the heat of battle, were analyzing, reverse engineering, and improving upon technologies that had taken the Estrene Empire millennia to perfect. General Chen's voice returned to their communications, this time with an edge of excitement that made Vexthor's scales ripple with unease. Fascinating technology, Admiral. Your crystalline matrices are brilliant, but they're too rigid, too perfect. You've never considered the power of imperfection, of adaptation, of evolution. As if to demonstrate her point, new vessels began rising from Earth's surface. They were hybridized monstrosities by Estrene standards, human-designed ships incorporating salvaged crystal technology, but altered in ways that defied conventional engineering. Where Estrene crystals sought perfection in geometric symmetry, these human variants embraced controlled chaos, creating patterns that somehow amplified the crystal's natural properties. Impossible, Vexthor whispered, watching as one of these hybrid ships engaged an Estrene cruiser. The human vessel's crystalline components pulsed with colors no Astrine had ever seen, generating shield harmonics that didn't just deflect attacks. They absorbed them, grew stronger from them. Crystal technology requires generations of careful cultivation. They can't just improvise with it. That's where you're wrong, Admiral, Chen replied. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to take something new and make it our own. We don't just adapt to challenges, we transform them into opportunities. The truth of her words played out across the battlefield. Human scientists weren't just copying Astrine technology, they were reimagining it entirely. They combined their quantum systems with crystalline energy matrices in ways that bypassed centuries of Astrine development, finding shortcuts and improvements that the Empire's rigid thinking had never considered. New human weapons detected, Zara reported, her voice carrying both fear and reluctant admiration. They're using our own crystal fragments as ammunition, but they've altered their resonance frequencies. The crystals are evolving mid-flight. Vexthor watched as these new weapons struck their targets. The modified crystals didn't just damage Astrine ships, they transformed them, spreading like a viral infection through their crystalline structures. Ships that had been proud examples of Astrine engineering became twisted hybrids, their perfect geometries warped by human innovation. Your mistake, General Chen continued, was thinking that technology has to be perfect to be powerful. Humanity embraces the chaos of creation. We experiment, we fail, we learn, we improve, and we do it fast. The evidence of this philosophy was everywhere. Human ships now moved in patterns that broke every rule of Astrine combat doctrine, their hybrid crystal drives allowing maneuvers that should have shattered any crystalline structure. Their weapons combine principles of multiple technologies in ways that Astrine scientists would have dismissed as impossible. Admiral, Zara's voice carried the weight of revelation. They're not just fighting us. They're using this battle as a vast experiment, testing new combinations of our technology with theirs. Each engagement teaches them more. A new type of human vessel caught Vexthor's attention. It was smaller than the others, but its crystal components pulsed with unprecedented complexity. As he watched, the ship took a direct hit from an Astrine energy lance, and instead of being destroyed, it separated into dozens of smaller units, each incorporating the energy from the attack into its own systems. Remarkable, isn't it? Chen's voice held pride now. We call it adaptive fragmentation. Your crystals want to grow in perfect patterns. We taught them to embrace controlled chaos instead. Each fragment learns and evolves independently, then shares its knowledge when they recombine. The implications struck Vexthor like a physical blow. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were using the battle itself as a vast laboratory, accelerating centuries of potential development into hours. Each clash between human and Astrine forces spawned new innovations, new combinations, new possibilities that the Empire's rigid doctrine could never have conceived. And as he watched another human hybrid ship tear through his fleet's defenses using techniques that would have been impossible hours ago, Admiral Vexthor realized that this wasn't just a military defeat. It was a fundamental challenge to everything the Astrine Empire believed about progress, about perfection, about the very nature of advancement itself. The real question was no longer whether the Empire would lose this battle, but how much more humanity would learn from their defeat, and what they would create from that knowledge. Unity in diversity. Admiral Vexthor had witnessed many forms of resistance across his centuries of conquest, but nothing like this. From his crippled flagship's tactical display, he watched in astonishment as Earth's nations coordinated their counterattack with impossible precision and creativity. Admiral, Zara reported, her crystalline form now permanently locked in stress patterns. We're detecting unique energy signatures from each continental region. They're all different, but somehow harmonizing. The tactical display told a story that defied everything the Astrine Empire knew about planetary defense. Each major region of Earth had developed its own interpretation of hybrid crystal technology, shaped by their unique cultural and technological perspectives. Instead of creating confusion or competition, these differences were becoming their greatest strength. From Asia, quantum crystal vessels moved like ancient dragons, their forms fluid and ever-changing. North American ships favored raw power tempered by precision, their hybrid drives burning with controlled fury. European vessels demonstrated elegant efficiency, their crystal matrices restructuring themselves for maximum effect with minimal energy expenditure. African ships pulsed with rhythmic energy patterns that seemed to communicate with Earth itself, drawing power from the planet's magnetic field. Their lack of uniformity should be a weakness, Vexthor muttered, watching as ships from different nations seamlessly coordinated their attacks. Different technologies, different strategies, different philosophies. It should be chaos. That's because you still don't understand us. Admiral, General Chen's voice carried new authority. She was speaking now not just for her own nation, but for all of Earth. Humanity's strength isn't in spite of our differences. It's because of them. As if to demonstrate her point, a squadron of South American vessels, their crystal drives humming with biomechanical innovations, created an opening in the Austrian formation. Australian ships, specialized in electronic warfare, slipped through the gap, their hybrid systems scrambling the Empire's communications. Middle Eastern vessels followed, their energy weapons transformed by centuries of mathematical excellence into something that danced between science and art. Fascinating adaptation pattern detected, Zara observed, professional curiosity momentarily overriding her fear. Each human nation appears to have developed their technology along cultural and historical lines, but they're actively sharing and combining their innovations in real time. The evidence was clear in the ever-evolving battle formations. Indian ships, their crystal matrices arranged in geometric patterns reminiscent of ancient mandalas, created energy fields that amplified the effectiveness of Russian heavy weapons. Japanese precision engineering merged seamlessly with Canadian environmental adaptation technology, creating defensive systems that turned the very atmosphere into a weapon. Your empire seeks to impose uniformity, Chen continued, as a particularly elegant combination of African and European technology eliminated another Austrian battle group. You see different approaches as inefficient, inferior. We see them as essential. Each perspective, each culture, each way of thinking adds another tool to humanity's arsenal. Vexthor watched as a group of smaller nations combined their resources in ways his tactical systems couldn't even categorize. Island nations contributed their understanding of oceanic patterns to create unpredictable attack vectors. Mountainous countries applied their expertise in high-altitude warfare to exploit the third dimension in ways that made traditional space combat doctrine obsolete. Admiral, Zara's voice carried a note of revelation. They're not just coordinating attacks. Each successful combination of technologies is being instantly shared and adapted across their entire defense network. They're treating the entire battle as a collaborative experiment. The truth of humanity's advantage became clear as Vexthor observed their battle strategy evolve. When one nation's approach proved effective, others didn't simply copy it. They transformed it, viewing it through the lens of their own cultural and technological heritage, before adding their own innovations. Each iteration sparked new ideas, new combinations, new possibilities. Look at your own fleet. Admiral, Chen's voice held a touch of pity now. Every ship identical, every crystal grown to the same exacting specifications, every tactical decision bound by the same rigid doctrine. Perfect, yes, but predictable. Limited. A new wave of human ships approached the remnants of the Austrian fleet, each vessel representing a unique combination of multiple national technologies. Their crystal components pulsed with colors that represented centuries of human artistic tradition, merged with bleeding-edge science. Their attack patterns drew from both ancient military strategies and revolutionary physics theories. We're receiving transmissions from across their planet, Zara reported, her voice filled with wonder. Scientific data, cultural information, historical records, they're freely sharing everything they learn, every innovation, every insight, not just with their military forces, but with their entire population. Vexthor finally understood. The humans hadn't just prepared for this battle. They had prepared for it in a way that was uniquely, fundamentally human. They had taken their greatest potential weakness, their diversity of thought and approach, and transformed it into an unstoppable force for innovation and adaptation. As another brilliant combination of multinational technologies tore through his fleet's defenses, Admiral Vexthor realized that he wasn't just witnessing a military defeat. He was seeing the emergence of something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that grew stronger through difference, that evolved through collaboration, that turned the very concept of division into a source of unity. And the Astrine Empire had nothing in its vast arsenal that could counter that. A lesson in humility. The stellar dominance, once the pride of the Astrian fleet, drifted powerless in Earth's orbit. Its living crystal walls, dulled and cracked, no longer pulsed with the confidence of empire. Admiral Vexthor stood amid the ruins of his bridge, watching the final moments of what should have been an easy conquest turn into the Empire's greatest defeat. "All combat-capable ships have been neutralized, Admiral," Zara reported, her crystalline form barely maintaining coherence. "The humans, they're not destroying our disabled vessels. They're studying them, learning from them, even as their victory is assured." Through the shattered observation window, Vexthor watched Earth's hybrid vessels moving among the wreckage of his fleet. Each human ship was unique, a testament to their philosophy of embracing diversity, yet they moved with perfect coordination. Their crystal components, once stolen and transformed from Astrine technology, now pulsed with colors his species had never imagined possible. "Admiral Vexthor," General Chen's voice came through clearer than ever. "Your fleet is defeated. We're prepared to accept your surrender." The irony of those words, the very ones he had planned to speak to the humans, was not lost on him. But it was the tone that caught his attention. There was no mockery in her voice, no celebration of victory, just curiosity. "Before you respond," Chen continued, "there's something we'd like to show you." The tactical display, one of the few systems still functioning, lit up with new data. The humans were dropping their camouflage completely, revealing the true extent of their civilization. What Vexthor saw made his four eyes widen in astonishment. Hidden beneath the facade of primitive technology lay a world of wonders. Quantum computers that used uncertainty itself as processing power, energy systems that drew power from the space between dimensions, cities that could reshape themselves based on the needs of their inhabitants. But what truly shocked him was the diversity of approaches. Every region, every culture had developed these technologies in their own unique way. "You see, Admiral," Chen explained, "we didn't just hide our technology. We deliberately cultivated different paths of development. When one nation made a breakthrough, others didn't simply copy it. They'd reimagined it, approached it from new angles, found possibilities the original inventors never considered." A holographic projection appeared before him, showing the history of human technological development. It was not the linear progression the Empire had assumed, but rather a vast web of interconnected innovations, each branch enriching the others. "Your Empire's greatest weakness," Chen continued, "isn't your technology. It's your belief that there's only one right way to advance, one perfect path to follow. You saw our differences as primitive chaos because you couldn't understand that diversity itself is a form of strength." As if to demonstrate this point, a new type of human vessel approached the stellar dominance. It was unlike anything Vexthor had seen before, a seamless fusion of every innovation they had developed during the battle, yet somehow greater than the sum of its parts. "What truly makes humanity powerful," Chen said, "isn't our weapons or our hiding places. It's our ability to learn, to adapt, to see value in different perspectives. Every culture, every tradition, every way of thinking adds another tool to our arsenal of understanding." Zara, who had been analyzing the human data, suddenly spoke up. "Admiral, their technological development, it's accelerating exponentially. The innovations they created during this battle alone have opened up entirely new fields of scientific understanding. They're not just defeating us. They're using this conflict as a catalyst for advancement. Vex Thor finally understood the full magnitude of his error. The Estrene Empire had spent millennia perfecting a single path of technological development, creating crystals of unmatched power and purity. But in doing so, they had trapped themselves in a crystalline cage of their own making, unable to see or explore other possibilities. "We offer you a choice," Admiral Chen said. "Surrender and join us in exploration and discovery. Your crystal technology is remarkable, but imagine what it could become if viewed through thousands of different perspectives, developed along paths your empire never considered." For the first time in his military career, Admiral Vex Thor felt something he had never expected. Hope. Not for victory. That was impossible now. But for something greater. The humans weren't offering mere mercy. They were offering an opportunity to learn, to grow, to evolve beyond the limitations of imperial doctrine. "There are wonders in this galaxy that neither of our species has imagined," Chen continued. "Paths of development that can only be discovered by combining different ways of thinking, different approaches to understanding reality itself. The question is, are you ready to learn?" Looking at the remnants of his once mighty fleet, now transformed and improved by human innovation, Vex Thor made his decision. With careful deliberation, he adjusted his crystalline form to display the colors of acceptance, not surrender, but opening to new possibilities. "General Chen," he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of revelation. "The Estrene Empire came to Earth expecting to find primitives in need of conquest. Instead, we found teachers. Perhaps it's time for our empire to learn a new way of advancing." As human ships moved to secure the stellar dominance, Vex Thor reflected on the true lesson of this encounter. The greatest power in the universe wasn't perfect technology or overwhelming force. It was the ability to embrace difference, to learn from others, to grow through diversity rather than conformity. The Estrene Empire had come to change Earth. Instead, Earth would change them. And through that change, both species would discover new paths to the future, paths that could only be found by walking together, learning from each other's differences, and embracing the endless possibilities that lay in diversity itself.